YankeesFiles podcast. We are back. I'm Will Harris, you're Alec Whipple, and the rest of you, independent of the result of the Orioles-Royals game in Kansas City, are fans of a team that will wake up Monday morning leading the American League East. That is, of course, the New York Yankees. Whipple, it was a crazy week, not a winning week, but not a losing week for the Yankees. We got a Taylor Swift double album. There are some people who listen to this podcast who care about that as much as I do. And the Yankees just pulled off a series win against the Rays at home to cap off our weekend nicely. And we are, of course, recording on the day of a win. So we'll get into everything that happened with the team this week. But first, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. It definitely was a week. I feel like as the weeks have gone this year, this was definitely the first week of, there might be some signs of trouble. The warning lights might be flashing a little more strongly than usual. But from the way that we felt on Wednesday afternoon at like 5 o'clock, I would say the week ended up pretty well, because in the 8th inning of Wednesday's game, I think everybody expected a sweep heading into a series against Tampa, no easy feat, and 4-game losing streak, first kind of sustained, run of bad play of the year. And I think, my thing, and especially after, I think yesterday they reinforced this, because yesterday's loss sucked, but it was a loss among 3 wins. I think people want the Yankees to look good while they lose. Like, everyone wants to see the losses where like the Yankees like look really good and there's a lot of positive takeaways. Sometimes like baseball teams just don't play well. I think
I hope you always say, right? You always say when they lose, they look like they'll never win again. And when they win, they look like they'll never lose again. I think you're exactly right about that.
I want to talk now that we're coming off a win. I think, the vibes are relatively good. Like, I'd like to discuss, and I know you want you to, the things that like are just, they look bad because they're losing and because baseball teams don't go 162-0 versus like, what should we actually be concerned about? But in terms of like the overall level of concern, definitely a great way to end the week after a pretty rough start. And maybe that's like, coming off of last week where it's kind of the reverse of that. The vibes don't always correlate with the exact record, but the Rays are always a tough team. I think the Yankees did well to take 2 out of 3. That last game against the Blue Jays was one of those wins that counteract, those tough losses against Cleveland. And those always balance out. It's just, for me, I feel like right now there's still a lot of reasons to be optimistic about the team. Definitely some points of concern, but you're going to win 2 out of 3 against Tampa, and you're going to win 3 out of your last 4. It might not have been the best week, but I'm still feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah, I mean, the team's 15-7. We're not going to complain
at the end of the day
about the team being 15-7. And this is something that I've tried to convey in a lot of my tweets. Any concerns that we express about this Yankees team are forward-looking. Winning games in the way that the Yankees have won games. Today's a perfect example. The Yankees had not even an extra base hit today? Or was Verdugo, was that a double?
I think so.
I don't think they had an extra base hit today. And they won a game purely based on cluster luck. No extra base hits. They just hit 9 singles. And they won a game purely on cluster luck. They, for a while, weren't getting hits at the right time, weren't stringing together the right hits. And then eventually BABIP and cluster luck went their way, and they scored a bunch of runs, and suddenly it was 5-1. And that was enough for them to, build a cushion and win the game.
One other thing that, before we talk about the Yankees, like the one thing that's impressed me is this is a really hard April schedule for them.
Oh, I mean, gosh, dude.
They played the Blue Jays. I know the Astros are, maybe they're not the Astros of old, but starting off in Houston, playing the NL pennant winners, Blue Jays twice, Rays, the Guardians on the road, which is right now one of the best teams in baseball. And then you get the A's this week, but then you had to play the Brewers and Orioles. Like, look at the records of the team, or the quality of the teams that the Orioles have played. Look at like the Red Sox, who they've played. I mean, the Orioles have been playing like the NL Central and the Red Sox and the AL West. The Red Sox have played like all of the West teams. I mean,
they're playing the Pirates right now.
the Orioles in June, like the comparison right now, I was just looking at the Orioles June schedule. They play the Rays, Blue Jays, Rays, Braves, Phillies, Yankees, Astros, Guardians, Rangers. So that's like
that's basically what the Yankees are doing right now.
Right. So the Orioles are good enough to play well through that, but like I think it says a lot. That stuff doesn't always shake out until the end, but the Yankees are playing really well against very tough competition, while the other teams necessarily haven't had to face that, and that absolutely matters. Like that stuff fluctuates, and the Yankees are taking advantage. And this week's a prime example. Kind of the first, maybe they played the Marlins, but they're going to get to play the A's. We'll see how it goes. But the Yankees have a lot more series like that ahead of them, and I think it's great that the Orioles are checking off all these boxes, and yet the Yankees are still ahead of them.
Yeah, I mean the Orioles. That game, I believe, is still in progress. They were up 4-0. They still are in Kansas City, and they're probably going to win. And the Yankees are going to come out of this with a half-game lead on the Orioles. I think that's awesome. I want to start by talking about stuff that I like about the Yankees this year, because I could see this podcast going in a way where it seems like I'm being very negative about the team. And as I was just saying, when I express concerns about this team, like those wins that they have are banked, and I'm glad they got them. And when wins are in the bank, I don't care how they came. The reason to consider the manner in which a team is winning games is because if the way a team has played is any indication of the way a team will play, you want to see the team doing things that are sustainable and good. And as we saw today, like the Yankees could have very easily sprayed 9 singles around and not scored a run. And that would have been bad. And the stat line could have ended up, looking exactly the way that it did. And it would have been, a 4-0 loss instead of a 5-4 win. So we'll get into that. Did you, in your wildest dreams, see the Yankees being this good at preventing runs? The Yankees have allowed 79 runs, which is the 4th fewest in Major League Baseball. And as a staff, their ERA is 2.99. They're one of just 2 pitching staffs with an ERA under 3. No. Without Garrett Cole, without getting swings and misses in the bullpen in the way that we expect that they one day will, like, this is unbelievable. This is an unqualified success as far as I'm concerned. Are you with me on this?
Yeah, I mean, again, Matt Blake is the god, and you trust Yankees pitching implicitly, but like this is kind of beyond the level which I think we kind of imagined. Like, definitely trusting Yankees pitching implicitly seemed to me more like a hold the fort down until Cole is back and some of the relievers. But for me, like, I mean, we can talk about the bullpen. I think the bullpen has been very serviceable. For me, it's the starters that have really impressed.
Oh
and
my
like,
gosh.
I know, like, not every day is the greatest day. Nestor Cortez has his like mediocre outings, and Rodon didn't pitch that well. But like, in the aggregate, by and large, like it's absolutely incredible to see Clark Schmidt doing what he's doing, Luis Gil doing what he's doing, which is like legitimately, I mean, some of the most insane pitching numbers right now. Like every day, I feel like he gets a stat line that like has never been done before, like 7 walks and 8 strikeouts and like 2 hits. I mean, Stroman's doing what he thought he could. Stroman's doing what we thought he could do. Cortez has had, 2 good outings, something to build on in the last one. And I think Rodon might be the most up and down guy in the staff right now, but like that's coming amid a lot of other great performances. And he hasn't pitched that poorly himself. It's just that, to me, the starting rotation like deserves the A+ grade, because that's been really incredible for a bunch of, I don't think question marks is the right word, but I think everyone had their like points of concern.
So here's a stat for you. The Yankees have 13 pitchers who have pitched at least 5 innings this year. 10 of them have an ERA of 3.66 or better. And as many of them has an ERA of 1.08 or better as have an ERA of above 3.66. That's insane. I mean, it's just unbelievable what they've done in run prevention on the pitching side. And look, like I have my concerns about the fact that they're I think 11th in FIP and 20th in XFIP. Yeah, I do. But I also think they're going to strike more guys out as the season goes on. And again, these wins are banked. And realistically, I think the offense is going to be better moving forward than it's been to this point. So if the pitching slips a little bit, or even, it maintains this level, but the shape looks a little bit different, maintains this level from like a FIP perspective. I don't think they're going to be a 2 something ERA team all year. I make that clear. I think the offense will pick them up in the future. And I think you're exactly right on the starting rotation point. I mean, and we can even drill down on the like league-wide pitching stats for, their performance as starters. The Yankees starting staff has produced a 3.01 ERA, which is 4th in baseball. They're 7th in FIP at 3.66. They, unlike the bullpen, are, getting strikeouts. They're 7th in strikeouts per 9. They're not doing it with like crazy BABIP either. They're 19th. They have the 19th. 18 teams have a lower BABIP from their starting pitchers. So like, it's not, there's definitely some luck there, particularly on the home run per fly ball thing, but like, it's more sustainable than I think people are acting like for their starting pitchers to continue to prevent runs in the way that they have. And when you see particularly high, I loved seeing a high strikeout outing from Nestor on Saturday. I think Nestor missing bats is a huge deal. And then just the way Luis Gil has pitched, we all know what his issues are. Sometimes he's going to walk way too many guys, but his stuff is phenomenal. He finds ways to miss bats and remain effective. And like the ERA estimators don't even dislike him that much. Like his FIP is 3.03 after today, even though he walks every batter he sees. Like for a guy who was just asked to step into the rotation, who hadn't pitched in years at any length, and, was probably thought by many to be like the sacrificial lamb who just had to go out there and, make a few starts while Garrett Cole was hurt. He's put himself in the conversation of like, how do we use this guy once the rotation is fully healthy? And I think that is an incredible success and one of the things that I'm most excited about from these first 22 games.
Yeah, I credit the Yankees for giving him the spot. Like, I feel like that is an indication to me for everybody out there who's like the Yankees, they're stuck. Either they use analytics too much or they don't use them in the right way, or like they don't, they don't make the right decisions. I feel like that's an example of them like kind of acknowledging that like the way they might have handled pitchers in the past might not be the right way. And just like, okay, we're not going to put a cap. We're not going to like shield him, but we're going to like, use the metrics we have to make sure he's doing okay. It's basically like just go in the rotation. And I definitely was like, okay, I'm not really sure that's going to work, but like the arm is just too good to keep out. I mean, he's given up 8 hits all year. Like his hit per 9 inning is, I was like 4 before this game. So it's definitely going to go down. And I think the biggest thing the Yankees are doing, I mean, we've talked about it, like the strikeouts might not 100% be there, but they're suppressing hard contact like nobody's business. I mean, they are 3rd in the league in home runs allowed, and the 2 teams above them, I mean, the Royals probably are about the same level of pitching staff. The A's somehow have allowed the least home runs in the American League, but I don't know. Their pitching staff really hasn't been that good. But, any way you cut it up, all these pitchers, the whole starting staff is allowing less than a home run per 9 innings. And I feel like
the Yankees have the second lowest barrel rate allowed per plate appearance by their starting staff, and the second lowest hard hit rate, as well as the 8th lowest average exit velo. Like they're doing a phenomenal job suppressing hard contact, especially hard contact in the air. And I was having a conversation with some friends last night about the randomness of home run per fly ball and the fact that, pretty much no matter what happens, 11% of fly balls are going to end up being home runs. And I said, there's not much you can do about that, but you can do things about home runs per nine. You can get ground balls and you can get weak contact, and that contact profile matters. So yeah, the Yankees have been phenomenal at that, and limiting barrels to the extent that they have is really, really good.
I think it just shows like how many games have we seen this year that have like gotten away because relievers come in and allow like some home runs and the Yankees are at like none. I mean, they're in all of these games, and
Yep.
the games that the bullpen has blown have not really come because of like a back-breaking home run. I mean, Caleb Ferguson might be, I hate to call anyone out, but he might be the guy who's like the only guy who really hasn't like succeeded in this. I feel like every other guy who's come in, I mean, even like Dennis Santana today, like it wasn't like a home run. It was like a bunch of like singles and doubles. And he's not even the guy I think like we want to focus on. Like it's the Holmes, it's the Hamiltons, Hamilton on Friday. Like that inning, every inning that's gotten away from the Yankees has because like some ground balls find holes or some line drives. Like that can really kill bullpens, like games that are close just suddenly get out of hand because relievers are giving up home runs. And for the starting
we saw the Yankees do that to the Blue Jays on Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly. It's a textbook example. And the starting staff, like, no matter what you think of them, like, every game they've kept the Yankees in, even if they haven't pitched the best. And I think, like, I would rather the Yankees, like, have this issue and have to figure out how to strike more guys out. Like, that definitely has its share of problems, I'm sure we'll talk about. But this is, like, contact suppression like we've never seen before from a group of pitchers that isn't, like, the most esteemed. I mean, it's awesome. It's really fun.
Yeah, it's terrific. And I think Caleb Ferguson's gotten a lot of heat. I think not all of it deserved, because like you're mad at Caleb Ferguson because the Yankees scored 0 runs in 10 innings. Like what was he supposed to do at that point? And like he hasn't been great, and he's walking too many guys, and he's had some bad fly ball home run luck.
He'll be better. I think he will.
I think it's reasonable to believe that he'll be better over the rest of the season. Certainly. And yeah, I saw naturally, because anytime the Yankees bullpen gives up runs, someone tweets, I can't believe we don't have name brand arms in the bullpen. This isn't going to work. They ran out of luck doing this. Like, the Yankees have the 3rd lowest bullpen ERA in Major League Baseball, and it's Victor Gonzalez and Dennis Santana and Caleb Ferguson and Luke Weaver. Like, it's only going to get, let me rephrase. The talent in the bullpen is only going to get better. The bullpen performance may not remain so good, but the talent in the bullpen is only going to get better. And again, like it's the same thing that I think is happening kind of across the board. There are places where the Yankees are punching above their weight or flying higher than the peripherals suggest they ought to be right now. And that's fine. And we can and will discuss the implications of that for their performance over the rest of the season, but can't take the wins away. The Yankees in the first week of the season benefited from the Astros doing a bunch of really dumb stuff in like every game. They've benefited from in the Blue Jay series, they got Swanson, who was, making his first appearance of the year. They've had some things just go their way. In the first game of the Rays series, like the right side of the Rays defense just decided we don't want to make plays, and that led to the big inning. Like, they've had some stuff go their way, and relying on other Major League Baseball players to be bad at baseball is not a great strategy for winning games. But the games that you win with that strategy do count. So assuming the Yankees process gets better over the rest of the year, which I think we have reason to believe it will, this is all gravy. And I think that's terrific.
I mean, and the Yankees have definitely made teams capitalize this year. Like, I think of something like today where, like, Kevin Cash got caught flat-footed, not warming someone up, getting Savali out of there. And, the Yankees, I mean, it wasn't like the ideal rally, but they, first pitch swinging, they just, before Kevin Cash knew what was happening, they had scored 4 runs. So, like, there's a little bit, good teams have stuff go right for them. Like, that's just part of baseball. But I think you have to take advantage of that stuff too. And the Yankees have banked the wins to show they have taken advantage of it. The last thing I'll say about the bullpen is, I know the Yankees don't sign, they've found the gems. They haven't signed the guys, and that's worked really well. But I'm glad that Tommy Kahnle is going to be back soon. I think he's really going to help this bullpen. I just feel like there needs to be, maybe not like the capital G guy. I feel like Clay Holmes is the capital G guy, but you need like a medium case, not like lower, but like a Tommy Kahnle level, like eighth inning. I just want Ian Hamilton to not become the eighth inning guy. I want him to be able to be the fireman. And I think Tommy Kahnle is perfect for that eighth inning slot. So fingers crossed he's coming back sooner rather than later. But I think of the ones who are on their way back, he definitely seems the closest.
Yeah. And I think he's a stabilizing presence. Every time you add a trusted arm to the bullpen, he can bump the guys below him on that trust tree down a peg. And then maybe you don't see Caleb Ferguson as often in high leverage, and maybe you don't have to go to Victor Gonzalez for a save, which he, got very effectively. And, that's just all goodness. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't shout out Nick Birdie. Nick, we hope your recovery goes well. Nick was, of course, was he my breakout pick or my reliever of the year pick?
Reliever of the year.
Reliever of the year, yeah. He was electric, and I think not having him hurts. I think we saw how that shortens the bullpen a little bit, because you add Morris, but he's at the bottom, so that's how you get, Dennis Santana and Luke Weaver and, Victor Gonzalez and whoever else in these spots a little bit. Anyway, I think we have to talk about the offense.
We always do.
They hit one home run in the 3 games against the Rays. They
hit one. They had 0 home runs outside of the 8th inning Wednesday and the 7th on Friday, or whenever that inning was.
Yeah, and that's not enough home runs to hit in a week. The Yankees, I think only 13 teams have fewer home runs than the Yankees thus far. And one thing that those teams have in common is they're not exactly great teams. Baltimore has the most home runs. Kansas City, who has a great run differential, is up there. The Dodgers are up there. Atlanta is up there. They have one of the best records. There's hitting home runs is good for your offense. And the Yankees haven't been doing it. And maybe they didn't listen to our episode last week about the world famous home run. But I am concerned. And I started to express that concern today on Twitter when I said singles suck and extra base hits are sick. The Yankees, one of the things that happened to the Yankees last year is they were frequently victims of phenomenal cluster luck for their opponents. I think about the Clay Holmes blown save in Miami and just everything that went right for the Marlins in that inning to score all those runs with infield hits and balls that get thrown away and things like that. And one of the reasons that game sticks in my mind is because of how weird it is to lose a game that way, and how unusual it is for all of those things to happen in the sequence they did to allow the number of runs that ended up scoring to cause the Yankees to lose that game. And the Yankees have won a number of games in kind of similar fashion to that this year. Maybe not always with the assistance of errors, though not infrequently. And just by, stringing hits together in improbable ways. And if we know anything about postseason baseball, for example, we know that out-homering your opponent is the most effective strategy to win games. And that's true in the regular season as well. And I'm starting to become concerned about the lack of home runs hit by these New York Yankees. Now, some of that should regress with Aaron Judge and Gleyber Torres hopefully kind of finding themselves a little bit offensively. But being 22 games into the season and, there's only what, 4 guys with more than 2 home runs on this team, and Gleyber Torres hasn't hit one, and Austin Wells, who's been hitting the crap out of the ball and getting very unlucky, hasn't hit one, and Aaron Judge has as many as Oswaldo Cabrera. Like that, I don't love being in that situation, and not doing a lot of the most effective run scoring play is a concerning symptom for the offense.
I love how many people like to talk themselves into the fact that, or like they like to pretend like not doing the most effective run scoring play is a good thing, and how many arguments they create for like it's better to be bad at what you're trying to do. It's actually good.
Exactly.
Like,
well, people love to say that like if you're trying to hit home runs, you're just gonna fail at everything. Like I don't know about that. Like didn't Ted Williams and someone else notably said, but Ted Williams was always like, yeah, I was trying to just hit balls in the air as hard as possible. Plenty of guys have said like, yeah, the only thing I was ever trying to do is hit a home run. Anyway, quality of contact. The Yankees came into today 12th in the league in xWOBA. They came into today 16th in expected slug. They came into today, what was it? I switched this leaderboard to pitchers. Give me 1 second. Unimpressive in barrel rate, 12th. That's per plate appearance, not per batted ball. This EV50 stat, the exit velocities of the hardest hit half of your batted balls, they were 11th. Like they're very much back half of the top half of teams in all the quality of contact stats. And that's not what this team is supposed to be. And again, as I said with the home run thing, some of that will regress with Judge and Gleyber improving, which I'm confident both will. But like, as we established, the home run is the most effective means of scoring runs. The way you hit home runs is you hit the ball hard in the air. Barrels are a great stat that let you know how often you're hitting the ball hard in the air, and there are 12 teams doing it more than the Yankees. And I don't love that, and it raises concerns. And I think you see in a week like this how important it is to hit home runs. And when the Yankees do it more frequently, they tend to win games, and when they don't do it, they tend to lose games. And I'm glad they're able to win these games without their best players hitting a bunch of home runs, but I'd like to see some things that suggest to me that like more guys are going to hit more home runs. And I don't feel like I've really seen those things.
Yeah, I mean, the run differential isn't as good as the record, and that's like always a good predictor. Like that's, the Yankees should not be one of those teams that has like incredible luck in 1-run games and thus it has a good record. Like whenever they're good, they're always the team that like, scores more runs than anyone else in the league. I love that they're walking a lot. Like that's a very positive thing. And it definitely, like I think the foundation is there. I think that their plate discipline is there. They need to hit more home runs. Like there's really no way to say it. Like you're not like we saw Monday and Tuesday, like you said, the downside of when it doesn't happen, that's the kind of game you're going to get. And yeah, like you're just maybe going to have those games, but like the Yankees have had teams that have had remarkable stretches of not being shut out or not losing X number of games in a row or, hitting a certain amount of home runs in a game. I mean, this isn't like, we're not asking for anything that's like unprecedented in recent Yankees history. That's where these teams like make their money. I mean, that's the bread and butter. And I think the foundation is there. Like I trust the guys who are on the field. If they can find a way to keep winning these games until they hit home runs, that's great. But like, I think you're 100% right. Like it's not a sustainable way to carry throughout the year. And I think, I don't know, like I definitely want to ask, like, going through the guys, maybe like the non-Juan Soto guys, like what kind of who's your target for most concern? Because like you usually you're optimistic that, you know, the team will kind of perform better than they have been in terms of like scoring runs. Yeah, Aaron Judge, maybe that's kind of an easy one, but like I feel like I'm sensing real concern in your voice for at this stage. Maybe I'm misreading it, but like, are there players that you are very concerned about, or is this a general like approach concern?
There are definitely players I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about Anthony Rizzo. I think he is probably the foremost. He's probably the guy about whom I'm most concerned. Now he has hit a few balls harder of late, but he's got one barrel all year. Hard hit rate is down from where it's typically been, you know, certainly in his healthy seasons as a Yankee. X-Woba starts with a 2. X-Slug is in the 320s. Average exit velocity is way down from every full season of his career. I know some of the like batted ball profile stuff certainly doesn't look great. But that's coming back in line a little bit more. He's popping up in the infield a bunch more than he ever has. So like his fly balls are generally less productive. Yeah, I'm probably most concerned about him. I'm concerned about Gleyber in the sense that I just like he has had slumps of a month or so in his career and broken out, but like you just never know what's going on behind the scenes. Like in 2020, 2021, we were like, oh, what's up with this you know, the lack of power that he's showing. And it turned out he had tried to lose weight to be more agile, to play shortstop, and it sapped some of his power. So then he changed his approach to try to compensate for it. And, that turned out to be a pretty bad thing. Like, I don't know if or that there is anything going on behind the scenes with Gleyber, but like, I'm a little concerned because even when he slumped in the past, like he had a little bit of a slump at the beginning of last year, but he was still like hitting the ball really well. And it was very much like a batted ball luck slump. We haven't seen him like, start to rip line drives or, hit deep fly balls. So that's a little bit concerning. And then like, I don't really know what to make of recent Anthony Volpe. I don't know that I would say I'm concerned about Volpe overall, because I think, obviously what we've gotten already from Volpe is an unqualified success. I don't think he's a 130 WRC plus hitter like he is right now, but he's made major strides in strikeout rate, walk rate, and quality of contact, and I think we should be happy and excited about those. So I'm a little bit worried about like what it looks like for him to ride out this slump, because I still think that the projections that say he's like league average-ish over the rest of the season could probably be onto something, and that would still constitute a massive improvement over last year. But like, as I think about where the brunt of the responsibility for the offense being successful over the rest of the season lies, I still think it is with the trio of Judge, Gleyber, and Soto. And right now, we aren't seeing Judge and Gleyber pull their weight in that group. And I am much more confident that Judge will find the level that I expect him to find than that Gleyber will. Although, as I said to someone on Twitter yesterday, like I would still today almost guarantee you that Gleyber's performance over the rest of the season will look more like his 2023 performance than what he's looked like so far in 2024. I think that's just reasonable. We know who he is as a player, but I'm just not as confident in him finding the level that I expect him to find than I am with Judge. And then like the question is if not Gleyber, if not Rizzo, who is that third leg of the stool for this team? Is it Anthony Volpe? I don't know, because there's still a lot of BABIP in his production. Is it Austin Wells? I don't know, because the Yankees don't seem super committed to playing him all the time. Is it Alex Verdugo? Like, I don't know. He got a bunch of hits today. He's been hitting the ball harder. He's been hitting it in the air. He's been pulling it. He's been doing the things that I wanted him to do, but like the quality of contact stuff overall still doesn't love him. Is it Giancarlo Stanton? He's been terrific thus far this year, but where do things go with his health? How much do the Yankees want to lean on him? What does DJ LeMahieu bring when he's back? There's just a lot of uncertainty for me. And I think the Yankees have the guys in the room to do damage. I'm not sure that I'm super confident that all those guys are going to do damage at the same time. Ryan Garcia has been beating the drum that the Yankees are going to have to add a power bat at some point this year. And I think he's probably right about that.
Is it Trent Grisham?
I still think
not great on the Trent Grisham beat for all those.
Well, here's the thing. Coming into today, Trent Grisham and Alex Verdugo, I think, were 3 points different by xWOBA. Oh no, Trent's went down after it refreshed.
Damn it.
Yeah, I mean he grounded out to the right side a couple times because he saw Alex Verdugo do it and assumed it was the right thing to do. But I don't know. I don't think Trent Grisham is nearly as bad as he's been, obviously. And I think given some regular playing time, he could not only play very productive center field, but also, start to do some damage. The weird thing about the way Grisham has been used is I think he has 2 plate appearances against lefties all season. And last year he had reverse splits where he hit lefties much, much better than he hit righties. And I guess I'm just not quite understanding how the Yankees conceive of Trent Grisham's role, because when he started, it has not seemed like he's been put in a position to succeed given what we have been able to observe about him as a player in the past. I don't think he's ever, going to be a centerpiece of the offense. I think he's, given regular playing time, probably a slightly above league average hitter. But it's been, the Yankees' usage of him has been weird. I think it boils down to not wanting to put Judge or Soto in left field, therefore having to play Verdugo every day. And because the obvious move would be to bench Verdugo against a lefty and play Grisham, and they haven't done that. And that's kind of weird.
I do not think the Yankees want Trent Grisham on this team.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they do.
I mean, I feel like the Taylor Trammell waiver claim is really weird, but I guess, I don't know. To me, it seems like, okay, maybe they're just claiming a guy, but it also seems like they are not. I don't know. Somebody said on Twitter, they didn't want him and they were forced to take him with Soto. And I feel like I was so hyped when they got him. And I have a hard time believing they don't want a good player. But I mean, this usage is not at all indicative of them perceiving really any kind of value. It's so confusing because I think we at least both thought that there would be some kind of rotation. And yeah. I mean, Verdugo hasn't played poorly recently, and we know they like him, but I didn't realize it was we're locked into this and Grisham plays when he absolutely has to play. Very strange. Definitely. I mean, my preseason prediction was he was going to be 5th on the team in WAR. I mean, that's not going to happen.
It's not. It's not.
Not at all, unless something really goes wrong. Or right, maybe.
Or right. How about Taylor Trammell getting roped into the John Sterling pregame ceremony? He's out there at the end of the line with the guys when they went out to take the photo.
They should have made him carry the team.
That would have been so funny. John
we do have to talk about Sterling on this pod, so maybe at the end.
Let's talk about it, because I think I've expressed the concern about the offense. They got to hit the ball hard in the air more, and they have to hit more of the world famous home run. And if they do that, they're going to be good. And if they don't, I think we're going to see, some of these close, low scoring games that they win by hitting a bunch of singles, they will lose. And, that's just how baseball works. John Sterling, I think you probably have some things to say.
Maybe.
Go
Do you
ahead.
want me to?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like it's really hard to describe, because I feel like, I don't know. I feel like for these retirement ceremonies, it's very like the Yankees, like they do their retirement tours and ceremonies, and it's very like, the season long tour, or it's Andy Pettit Day, or it's we're gonna honor someone, buy your tickets like 3 months in advance. And I think we just all had that thought that that's what the end of John Sterling's career would be like. Like it was going to be, oh, we're going to know, in May. Like I don't think anyone thought it was going to go on forever. A lot of people even thought this was going to be last year, but it would be like in May. It's, it's his last year. So it'd kind of be a season long thing, and then a ceremony in September. I don't think anybody thought the retirement was going to be concurrent with the announcement of the retirement mid-season.
Yeah.
And I'm very glad it's not a health issue, because that really would have been quite terrible. And it might be, but as far as we know, it seems like he's just done. And I respect that. Like I'm not 86. I feel like when you're 86, it's gotta be really tiring. But it definitely leaves us in the position where we usually on these podcasts, I think, have like season long buildups or opportunities in advance to think about what we're going to say. I just feel like it's hard to even quantify what John Sterling means to this team, because we just haven't we've had like 4 days to even consider it. And watching these the montage of the calls and thinking about like my Yankees fan experience, I mean, he goes back beyond anyone who is currently on this team right now. Like, I think broadcasters just play such an integral part of our baseball fandom experience. And for everyone, every single person who's on Twitter watching the games, it was, okay, I'm going home to watch the game, but I can't make it home in time. Or, I'm like lying in bed and I'm, it's past my bedtime because I'm like in middle school and I need another way to listen to the game. Or I'm driving somewhere and I'm not going to be able to watch on TV. And I feel like for any other team that would have been like, oh shoot, like that's, we got to like listen to the radio. But John Sterling was like his own experience on the radio, to the point where I think sometimes we both watched the games, like listening to the radio, when I did that for the Apple TV broadcast the other day. And he just like, I mean, it's so hard to even quantify, but like the enthusiasm I think he brought to baseball, while like not being a boomer, like he was so excited about everything related to baseball, but like he never seemed curmudgeonly. He never said like, well, it was better in the 90s or the 80s. Every single thing he had this like great energy and enthusiasm for. And the home run calls are great. The, Yankees win, like that stuff is great. But for me, it was just like every little thing he talked about, even reading the ads. I mean, like it's just so quotable, and that energy in his voice while doing like, a Montefiore Health Center ad read is just beyond, I think, what most broadcasters give to like their whole profession. And so, I mean, I know we've all made jokes about Sterling missing home run calls, and we've all, looked over what's the new call going to be, but it just, I don't know. Like it never seemed like it was going to end. Like I think it would have been weird if there was a full length retirement tour, but the fact that it came out of the blue, it just never seemed like this was possible, especially not on such short notice. But I mean, I was tearing up at the ceremony. It's a part of our childhood. It's part of our adulthood, and something that is just going to be woven into the fabric of Yankees history for all of these great moments, all of these great teams, and just like a really like top-notch person who both like people could make jokes about, but also people could like, it wasn't done like making fun of it. It was done like, like it's a family member or something. And then you could listen to him seriously and hear some great baseball discussion. I mean, he really had everything. And so I feel like that's what I will miss the most. Just like Michael Kay is amazing. I think Yankees fans don't realize what a great play-by-play announcer we have, but man, there's something else about John Sterling that I just don't think we're ever going to get back to Yankees baseball.
Yeah, well, Whipple, I thank you. Uh, yeah, I mean, I think you nailed a lot of the big parts of it. Sterling was an institution. Listening to him call a baseball game was an experience unto itself, and it was fundamentally different from listening to another announcer or watching on TV or attending the game. And Sterling said many times that he preferred doing games on radio because he got to paint the picture. And I think there are few announcers who I've ever heard who painted the picture in the way that Sterling did. Um, it was yeah, unlike listening to anyone else. And it, as you said, goes beyond the signature calls and the Yankees win and all of that. There was, the cadence of it, the rhythm of it, the repartee with Susan, all of it was great. And certainly there are things that he, could have improved, or things that maybe went on a bit too long, and maybe his eyesight wasn't as good towards the end as a radio broadcaster's eyesight ought to be. But yeah, I think what it boils down to for me, and what I felt as I was, watching the tribute videos and the ceremony, is this is a guy who called almost every game that the Yankees played in my lifetime. There's that great Russ Steinberg tweet about how in between games that John Sterling missed, Derek Jeter went to high school, got drafted by the Yankees, played in the minors, played 20 years for the Yankees, retired, and bought a baseball team. Um, you know, it was, as I said, an institution. I would turn on the radio and I would hear John Sterling calling the Yankees. And it's really weird that that's not the case anymore. And I know that his schedule had kind of waned towards the end, and sure, sometimes you would turn on a game and hear Justin Shackle or whoever else, and the Yankees thankfully have a great team of guys who will, take up that post, and I think we're very lucky for that. But I mean, it's such a different experience, and I'm sure you share this. Like, I have specific memories of, you know driving around, I remember where I was on the road when I heard a specific Sterling call of a specific moment. Like, I remember being at the stoplights in Middletown on Route 9, hearing a Chase Headley home run in 2017. And I remember being on 84, going toward Farmington in 2020 when Gary Sanchez hit the not walk-off grand slam against the Mets. And, I just, I mean, countless car rides with my parents or my grandparents listening to John Sterling, and, high fives up to the driver's seat from the back
Yeah.
seat and all of that. Like, it's going to be really different without him. And I just think of how lucky we are that for our entire lives up to this point, every time we turned on a Yankee game on the radio, it was John Sterling. And I mean, man, am I going to miss him and his enthusiasm and his style. But there aren't many fan bases that get to have the experience that we had with him, and I think we're very lucky for that, and we should be very appreciative of that. So, um, yeah, I will certainly miss him.
Yeah, the specific moments thing, like, I think there's two, like, kind of bookends for me where I remember it was in 2010. I remember, back when we were young enough to, like, have not bedtimes, but, like, you gotta, like, be down out of, like, the
Sure.
downstairs TV area by, 10 o'clock or whatever. And I remember listening to the Marcus Timms, or it was the A-Rod tying home run, Marcus Timms walk off against
Yeah.
Papelbon. And, like, just being so happy, like, in my room, like, just, the classic, like, just listening under the covers.
Yeah.
And then, 13 years, 14 years later, like, last year, driving home from my first semester of law school in, like, terrible like May weekend traffic on 95 and listening. Like the only thing that got me through that drive was it was the day of the 6-run comeback against McClanahan. The only thing
And
that got
Judge
me
hit
through
the
that
2
drive,
home runs. Yeah.
yeah, only thing was listening to Sterling. Because I remember I'm like, well, like shoot, like this is gonna be a terrible game, and I'm like bumper to bumper traffic, and hearing Sterling and like the call and the comeback, like I feel like, and that's, that's 15 years. You could go back even farther. It's just like you remember those moments and like how you feel, and how you feel is a lot based on the energy, enthusiasm, the passion, emotion in that man's voice. And like, one call to one person times millions of people. And the thing I would close on, like, it was the article, like the thing I'll remember is the article, like the quote, I guess that will sum it up. The article that Brendan Cuddy wrote before opening day, where it was like kind of clear this was coming to the end. And Sterling said, like, I think it was the last quote of the article. It's like, it's all kind of worked, hasn't it? Like the A-bomb from A-Rod and the Yankees win, like it's all worked. And like, yeah, like it's all worked. Like everything has worked for him. And he's created this legacy and this like this fabric woven with the threads of his voice. Like it's pretty cool. It must be pretty cool to look back, be like, I did that. And like, I know people are like, oh, they only gave him a TV. Like that's not the point of what yesterday was. Like yesterday was, for him, the present was the people there and the cheers and be able to talk to them. So, don't listen to Barstool Sports. It's about he's a man who made his career on his voice, and really for him, that was the gift, be able to hear people's cheers and voices.
I'm quite sure that I remember hearing John Sterling call Chen-Ming Wang's debut, which is pretty cool, and I'm not sure why that sticks in my mind. But yeah, just what a guy and what a career. And to do this at 85, 86 years old, like I'm glad that he's getting a break and getting time to relax, but certainly we'll miss him. Whipple, you raised a good question before the podcast that is different from the John Sterling question that I think we might as well at least give a minute or two to.
So based on last week, based on the last 3 series, I've just kind of been wondering, like, what's the best kind of sequence of events in terms of like not winning, like, because obviously wins and losses are objective, but like the way you feel is subjective. And I think people felt a lot worse after the Cleveland series than they do after right now, or even after the Toronto series, although that makes no sense because they lost the series. So I posed to you the question. I don't think you can reasonably say, but we could also throw it in if you feel that like losing the first 2 games and winning the last one can be a contender in this category. But
I don't.
Of the three ways to win a 3-game series without sweeping, how would you rank the enjoyment level of them? So
it's win, loss, win, win, loss, or loss, win, win.
Yes. And I think that win, loss does not feel good. But
win, loss feels terrible.
I feel like win, loss, win for me, I don't know. Like or loss, win. I feel like win, loss, win feels better than loss, win. And I don't know why.
I disagree because to me, the Friday win against Tampa feels far away.
But okay, you make your case and I'll make mine.
Okay, yeah. So I first of all, I think it's close. I think it's close between loss, win, win, and win, loss, win, because losing the first game of a series and putting yourself behind the 8 ball sucks. So totally agree on that front that loss, win, win starts off feeling really bad. But I think it has 2 things going for it that are related, and maybe you could argue are the same thing. The first is, as I said, Friday's win. It's Sunday. The Yankees just won to win 2 out of 3 in this series. It's Sunday. Friday's win feels distant to me. It feels like it happened a long time ago. And Saturday's loss feels much fresher. And I felt like I carried Saturday's loss into today, and it, like, I just didn't like that feeling. Second, I like being on a winning streak, and loss, win, win puts you on a winning streak. So for those two reasons, I probably prefer loss win win to win loss win. Although I will say it's close because winning the first game of a series is really nice.
Yeah, I think for me, because I was thinking about it based on this weekend. I'm like, I feel like I've been more calm this weekend. And again, this is like all subjective. This is like the
Yeah.
stupidest conversation ever. But like,
It's
I
like the
feel like,
least Yankees files
yeah,
conversation we could possibly have.
this is like really dumb. But like acknowledging that's really dumb, I feel like I went to, like Friday night. I went, especially after the off day Thursday. Like I went to bed, I was happy, and I woke up Saturday. I was like, all right, like I feel like the rest of the weekend, we're not going to get swept. You're at least in a position to win, maybe sweep, win 2 out of 3. And then like, I just felt like I didn't take Saturday's loss as hard. And I feel like that's where it comes from for me, where like, if you lose Friday and then say you're like down Saturday, like things are getting really stressful. But for me, like, it was like, okay, like that sucks on Saturday, but like we already have the win banked. And then I feel like you're at the same place outcome wise. But like maybe not. Maybe it really depends on like how the games themselves go. Cause like
Maybe.
if you win like a blowout on Friday and then like lose a close game Saturday, or like, maybe that changes it. I don't know. But like for me, the tone setting of the weekend, I feel like is more important than like, if you lose that first game Friday, I feel like you're trying to make up the deficit for the whole weekend. Now, having said that, the one thing that I'll point to that I think helps your case is, and this is kind of a Yankees unique thing, because when there's a Friday night and a Saturday night game, the case is probably better for my side. But when it's a Friday night, Saturday day, I think your cases help because you get the quick turnaround.
Yeah.
But if it's Friday night, Saturday night, and then Sunday day, and you lose Saturday night, win Sunday day, having won Friday, I feel like that makes me feel fine. Whereas like the reverse, you're kind of sitting on it for a while. So a lot of factors to consider here, but I just wanted to pose that thought. Cause I was like, I didn't think Saturday's loss was like affected me as much, but like if they lost Friday, I feel like that would have killed some momentum. And now you have one win in the last like week, basically.
Sure. Yeah.
Again, stupid conversation.
Okay. No, I hear you though.
You don't feel good after win-win-loss, even though you have guys like us on the podcast like begging you for like just feel happy, please. And we've had that podcast like at least 6 or 7 times, and
I mean, two is greater than 1 at the end of the day, no matter how you get it. So
the best one, I always remember this, was right before the All-Star break 2021, where it was win in like close fashion Friday, Garrett Cole complete game shutout Saturday, and then the most heartbreaking Astros loss you can ever think of. And we get on the pod and we're like, okay, guys.
Great series, guys.
Yeah, great series. Like, that's what you want to do, except, except for the 9th inning today. But
yeah,
that's baseball.
That was an all-timer. That's baseball, Susan. There you go. Can't figure baseball. So, Whipple, your confidence in these New York Yankees before they play 4 games hosting the A's and 3 games visiting Gary Sanchez, Jake Bauers, and the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah, my question is, how far is the Sanchez home run going to go? And what part of the park?
Oh my gosh.
Putting you on record here.
It's so the Brewers, he's like hitting the slide in left field.
I always remember the first Yankees Twins series after that. I think that's still one of the longest home runs in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
So
yep.
That's okay. It's hitting the slide. Yeah, I think it's going to be 4 games against the A's, 3 against the Brewers, maybe an easier week, but I definitely feel like we could see a little bit of a letdown here. Like, I guess that's to say my confidence is going down a little bit.
Yeah,
I feel like this is a classic, like, we've won a bunch of tough series, so now we're going to like fumble an easy series. But I mean, the A's, they're playing better, but they're still the A's. So fingers crossed that, the Yankees can take care of business. Sometimes I feel like it says more about teams like, can you take care of business? We know this team's going to compete in big moments, but they got to start padding their stats by hitting home runs against some poor A's pitching. Like, I want to see some blowouts this week. That definitely is concerning me, that we're not having a lot of blowouts and the run differential isn't where it should be.
Yeah,
and
hit bombs, juice the run differential.
Exactly. Like, the strikeout rate isn't where we want it to be. The run differential is where we want it to be.
By that, you mean the strikeout rate's too low, right?
Low. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I'm talking about for the pitchers. Sorry.
Oh, I thought you meant for the hitters, the
Oh,
strikeout rate is too low, which is what I believe. Like
sure.
they're striking out 20% of the time. Only 8 teams are striking out less. Like miss some more balls and hit some more balls over the wall. Anyway,
that like I think there's more concerns that have popped up this week, and a 3-3 week
yeah.
isn't the best. So I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna go down to a 9 because I think the Yankees were on the precipice of disaster at a lot of points this week and really saved themselves. And
Yep.
if they got swept in Toronto, I feel like that would have been bad. Like if they lost, today's game, like there's some moments that we look down, the barrel of the gun, and I feel like this podcast would be a lot worse with a few hits that, were poorly timed. So I'm glad we're not at that point, but I can't say I'm like more confident in the team after this week. But having said that, like I feel like my confidence rating right now is being propped up by some Juan Soto sized home runs because
Sure.
Friday's game was so fun, and like I'm always gonna trust the team with hitters like Juan Soto, and I'm gonna trust Aaron Judge to hit like
Yeah,
Aaron Judge. Like you
absolutely.
alluded to it, but like the issues that are underlying some of these other guys are not there for him. I mean, every at bat, I feel like he's missing pitches. The first week we get with Soto and Judge on all cylinders is going to be awesome. So I'm going to go down to a 9 because this team is 15-7 and they avoided some pretty bad situations this week. But I don't think you can feel more confident after this week. But I think we're safe from feeling like really not good.
Yeah, I definitely feel less confident in the team after this week. Um I I need to see more of the world famous home run. Like at the end of the day, that's what I need to see from this team. And until guys show me a consistent ability to hit the world famous home run, I'm gonna be kind of concerned. I love 15-7. I love a lot of what I'm seeing from the pitching staff, but I need more out of the offense. This week is a good opportunity to get more out of the offense. With that said, I think I was at 8.5. I'm going to go down to 8. Thought about 7.5. I just need to see more damage. The Yankees have played 22 games. They've had 4 games without an extra base hit. You gotta have extra base hits. That's, like almost 20% of your games that you're not having an extra base hit. That can't happen. So I'm going to go down to an 8, but as you said, if they hit some home runs, get some blowouts, juice the run differential, I'll start to feel good again. Maybe the A's is a great get right series for Judge, for Gleyber, for Rizzo. We'll see what happens. That is going to wrap things up for us. Whipple, any parting shots?
Yeah, so in honor of John Sterling, because I found Pinstripe Alley wrote the article ranking all 142 John Sterling home run calls. I'm not going to read all 142 off, but I want to read off the top 10 and the bottom 10.
Okay.
And just to give us a flavor of what the Tao of Sterling was. So
maybe we should go top 5, bottom 5. 20 is a lot of call.
Top 5, bottom 5. That very fair. Number 1, Bernie Williams. Bernie goes boom. Burn baby burn. And I feel like that is a classic. I mean, that's got to be up there. 2, Jorge Posada, Georgie Juice 1. I feel like that might be a little higher.
Number 2.
I'll send you the article.
That would be like number 75 for me, but okay.
Number 3, and this is one that I really love, the Curtis Granderson.
Oh,
not just the Grandy Man can, but the original Curtis Granderson.
Curtis, you're something sort of grandish.
That might be like my favorite one because it was pulled from like it says here the Broadway musical Finian's Rainbow.
Does anyone other than John Sterling know that exists?
And then 4, A-Bomb from A-Rod. I mean, that's
iconic. That's an all-timer. That might be number 1 for me.
5 is Lance Berkman, Sir Lancelot.
Sir Lancelot rides to the rescue. What?
And
this list is not good.
6 quickly is Russell Martin. Russell shows muscle. Monsieur Martin, Ella. I love that one. All right, and then we'll go bottom 5. Let's see, 142. Jake Bowers is 141. Jake Bowers, the man of the hour. Juan Miranda's the worst one. That ball is Juan gone, and that is kind of lazy.
Lazy.
The Billy McKinney, the skinny on McKinney.
Yeah,
Here's the last one I'll read because I feel like this might be one of the more cringy ones, but I still love it. Tyler Wade waded into that pitch, but also Tyler Wade made in the shade. And I feel like that might be the worst one, but like it also is kind of the best one. Like he's just rhyming words and it worked, man. I love John Sterling.
That the top 5 on that list is awful. Like,
I'll send it to you. Do a full review.
Not to have any of the Bambino ones. Like, not to have Giambino, Bamtino, Sanchino, not to have Robbie Cano, don't you know? Honestly, Downtown Goes Frazier is one of the best ones of all time. Like,
to be fair, those were all kind of in the top 10, 15. But like, yeah, I get your point.
So those are meaningfully better than Georgie Juiced one. Like, come on.
For me, Burn Baby Burn, Granderson, A-Rod, and I love Text Message. Like that's
Text Message is awesome. Well, and I wish this video were still on YouTube. It's not, but I remember in like 2010 finding a video of someone auto-tuned someone auto-tuned the Mark Teixeira John Sterling home run call from that game against the Red Sox in 2009, where he and Damon went back to back, and of course, belly to belly. And it was, at the time, I think it was the funniest thing I had ever heard, was John Sterling auto-tuned. And I'm so sad that it is no longer on the internet. Maybe I'll put some feelers out on Yankees Twitter, see if anyone happens to have it. But Whipple, with that, we are wrapping things up here. People can keep up with us at YankeesFiles.com. They can follow us on Twitter, where we're at Yankees Files. Our podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts, with the added bonus of video if you are listening on Spotify. The entire video podcast, of course, goes up on our YouTube channel, where we are at Yankees Files. We will be back similar time, similar place next week to recap the series against the A's and the Brewers. And until then, let's go first place Yankees.